Hi, Aaron. It's nice to see you again.
Hi, Kevin. Nice to see you.
So today we'll just have a little chat on the class that you'll be teaching in the fall. It's a case seminar using Winnicott in the clinical setting. I was just wondering if you can say a little bit more about why this class.
Why this class? Well, uh, I love teaching this class. Uh, Winnicott gave us so many wonderful gifts, and being able to share that uh, is a is a great privilege.
Mm,
Um, Winnicott was really focused on the earliest stages involved in the founding of a person. Um, from the very beginning, a state of primary unintegration towards developing a sense of existing,
mhm,
um, continuity, coherence, having an inside, uh, developing boundaries, and beginning to feel that one is a person.
mhm,
Uh, and all of that happening uh, very early, um, needing an environment that's there to understand the expressions, the gestures, to respond in a way that implements those gestures and expressions, that makes them real, um, that protects from anxieties that are always there waiting to happen, very
mhm,
primitive anxieties. Um, and he also showed us, how so many of our patients come in with problems related to disruption of these processes, these early processes.
mhm,
So people come in with feeling unreal, like life is futile, being afraid of dying, being afraid of disintegrating, uh, not having contact with the body. Um, and So how do we work these kinds of problems? So it's just so much that is important for working with the kinds of patients that I think most often come in for analysis, or very often come in for analysis. Um, so to me, it's a very fulfilling experience to be able to get into all of that.
mm. Sounds wonderful. Um, with the way you're going to teach the class, will you be also including clinical materials or will it be just theoretical?
It's going to include both theory and clinical material. We'll have candidates presenting cases, and we'll all try to pitch in with clinical experience. I think it's so rich and incredibly helpful to see things that Winnicott wrote about and thought about actually appearing uh, in clinical experience. How do we understand false self? What does that really
Mm,
look like? Uh, what is regression? Uh,
mhm,
what are these kinds of disintegration, primary anxieties like falling forever,
mhm,
fears of fear of breakdown, um, other things like transitional phenomena, uh, use of an object. How do we see these things in actual clinical experience?
Yeah. Um, and the last question I have is, if there's one thing that you're hoping the candidates will take away from your class, what might that be?
Well, I think the most important thing that Winnicott stressed above all, I think it's related to his idea of a holding environment, is that we have to be always aware of the patient's level of maturity,
Mm,
strength, integration. Um, when we're approaching this work, we can't just assume that the dynamics that come up for all of us, are workable for everyone in the same way. We have to really be aware of um, what are the patient's strengths, vulnerabilities, what is the state of the patient's ego, as we would, um, naturally, if we're tuned in, um, but specifically with people who are extremely vulnerable, um, being aware of that, um, being tuned into that, and making adaptation so that
mm,
we can support those vulnerabilities uh, until until there's enough strength to deal with things differently. So that's the most important thing, I think, to always be aware of where the patient's ego is in terms of ego structure, integration, level of maturity, level of development, um, in order to establish a good enough holding environment
mhm,
and facilitate, support the patient's work, giving the patient a place where she or he can find themselves and become themselves, have a sense of existing and being themselves, sense of safety and trust, and being alive as themselves.
mhm. Sounds great. So thank you very much for this talk, Aaron. And I'll speak to you very soon.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin.